Thank you. If you just give us a brief, I had a discussion with Chief Glazer right before this. I understand, his request to do this through the council, but if you just give us to go, give a presentation on what this will do and why we did it, because it will potentially jeopardize the funding of the fire station and part of the flyover. So if you would give us a few moments just to give that presentation.
Your motion on the floor right now is to indefinitely defer. So we would either have to put it on the floor for approval, remove your motion to indefinitely defer, then you can have discussion, or we would have to vote on the indefinite deferral.
Wouldn't this discussion count as not to go for the deferral?
No, that's a discussion for to discuss the item. Right now, your motion on the floor is to indefinitely defer. If you want to remove that to allow the discussion.
Since your motion, do you
Yeah,
wish
as long as we can remove it, I want to hear what the mayor and the
Thank
director
you.
has to say, and then I will go forward with the indefinite because,
problem.
we kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit.
You want to remove your motion to
Remove the
indefinitely defer?
motion, and then hear the discussion, and then put it back on.
Councilman Brennan, you want to remove your second?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Brennan for approval. Now we can entertain discussion.
Mr. Shriner?
Yeah, Council President, there hasn't been a whole lot of discussion about this, but this ordinance is to transfer ownership of Williams Boulevard from 32nd to Vintage, and also Reverend Richard Wilson from the parish limits on the east to the parish limits on the west. The amount of the transfer is $4.3 million, and $1.5 million of that is dedicated to go to our share of the interchange cost. The city does have a share in that. I don't know if y'all are aware of that. The other part is dedicated to go to the fire station. If this is not passed, if we don't do this, then as far as we know, there will be no funding for the fire station. We will also not fulfill our obligation for the match portion of the interchange. Yeah, this is something we've worked with DOTD it's been in the works for years, and we had to work with we had to develop the language of this so that it would be acceptable to both parties, and we've finally done that, and that's what this does. So I don't know if y'all are aware of that, but that's the purpose of the money, so that again, we can build the station. Where we are with the station right now is that we've had permit drawings have been submitted to code. They're in there right now. We have a CMAR contractor in place. If the permits, the comments on the permit drawings are addressed, we would be able to go to construction within a month. But anyway, that's where we are right now. Everything's in place. The only thing, this is obviously pending, and the other thing is pending is if Gibbs, who is the CMAR contractor, gives us an acceptable price.
Tom, explain CMAR, please.
CMAR stands for Construction Manager at Risk. It's something that the state allows us to do where a contractor gets involved with the design of the project early on, and they work with the design team and offer a lot of suggestions that usually leads to a more affordable project. They've done that. I've been in all the meetings with them. They've done an excellent job. So that contractor, being so familiar with the project, would be in a good position to give us our best price. And also it saves time. If we don't accept the CMAR bid or the GMP, guaranteed maximum price, we would have to advertise and bid and go through that process, which I think y'all are familiar with that. It would take, 3 months to get that in place. Y'all have any questions?
What did you say, Mr. Shriner, about the permits and the fire station?
Yeah, it's
beginning?
what they have to
Please.
get their drawings approved. It's a building that it has to go to code. They do their normal review like they would for any building that's going to be constructed. Also, there is a concern. The fire chief has a concern, and I'll let him address that. It has to do with his PIL rating.
But did you say something about the permits and the project beginning? Give a time on?
Yeah, the permit drawings have been submitted to code. They're in there right now. So, and once they'll provide comments, the design team will revise drawings if necessary and come back with a revised set of plans. We don't expect a lot of revisions to be made. So essentially, what we're saying is we're ready to go. Ready to go build a project.
But did you say a time frame when it would begin?
we could begin, once we get the revisions made and submitted back to code, we could go to construction in a month.
Thank you. Councilwoman, do you have any questions for Mr. Reiner?
Yes, I do. Or, not for Mr. Reiner.
Do you have questions, Mr. Schreiner?
Well, I did, but I didn't know if they're just kind of doing a rotation and he's coming back, what? He was yielding to the fire chief. I didn't know if he was
Well,
not, he was
If
finishing.
you have questions for Mr.
Yes.
Schreiner, why don't we
Okay, no,
address those,
sure.
please?
You referred to CMAR, and you gave it's an acronym, I guess, and you gave the explanation. I'm somewhat familiar with it, but as I appreciate, is this something that the state is more pushing on to follow to do this? Because they already started their construction under a CMAR, as I appreciate, for the flyover.
Yeah, they were totally in support of this project. Yeah, they like it. They see a big benefit in having the contractor involved with the design. I mean, there's a lot of things they have pointed out on our project where we have shaved a lot of cost off the project.
So the design of the fire station, which we know we've been questioned as to where it's at and what's going on, has been more of the CMAR process of the design taking place, which is now you say complete and has been turned over to code.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So if that's complete and in code, we're just hopefully waiting for them to cross T's, dot the I's, make any minor changes. Then it comes back, and then the contractor is already in place to start work.
Right, he's there. He's ready to go. They understand their role. They understand their role is to help us along with the project, offer all these suggestions that they have, and if they give us a bid that we think we can accept, then we sign the contract with them, which has already been developed, and we can go to work.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And how much of this money would we receive flyover, and how much fire?
Well, it's a total amount of $4.3 million. $1.5 million would be our share for the interchange project. The rest would go to the fire station.
Chairman, Councilman Brannigan has his hand up. I just didn't know if you saw him. I just want to make sure you knew.
Don't we have the money for the fire station? Haven't we had?
We don't have all the money. When we went through this process, getting the old station evaluated, and using their criteria, we didn't get enough money for the station. The DOTD recognized this and that's one of the reasons they offered this plan for us to get additional money.
So we don't have the money for
No.
the fire station unless we move.
Let me say this. We have all the money for the fire station with this project in place.
But we didn't
and-
know about this
yeah, you d-
project. at the
No,
fire
no, no.
station.
No, we,
I mean,
right, yeah.
What?
You didn't know? The council didn't know?
no,
'Cause
I'm
y'all-
asking a question. We knew this money was coming at some.
This was part of the negotiations with DOTD from the well, not from the very beginning, but as we went along to the time that it
Okay,
took
so
to get to this
isn't
point.
just something that's
No,
this is not
isn't
new.
No, this isn't new.
That's what we,
trying to
Okay.
clarify so everybody
no, but I don't want you to think that we didn't have the money. We did have the money with this project. Okay.
trying to.
No, and I'm just
make
trying to
sure
answer it.
everybody
I
understands.
think
So
we're on the same
appreciate
page.
that. You have a question?
Yes, so what was the original, so when we discussed the fire station, it was my understanding we got like $4.3 million for the fire station. Is that correct?
No, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but they gave us money. They gave us money for the land. They gave us money for the construction of the station. They gave us money for relocation, and they gave us money for rental if we had to rent something for, I think it was 6 months. So that all went into that figure.
Okay, so we got that money, and are we building it more bigger, or why do we need more money? And this is the first time I've heard about this, that we were negotiating a transfer or anything. I mean, because my concern is that now we're going to have to maintain we're adding to the inventory of our street maintenance, which right now is okay, but not great. So we don't want to, it's going to cost, in the long term, it's going to cost the city more money because we didn't get enough money initially, but then we did get enough money initially. I'm just really confused because I feel like we were told something and then we were told something and now we're being told something different. So I just want to make sure that I understand.
Well, remember, 1.5 million goes to the match for the interchange project.
Right.
The other thing.
So we're getting state money to match state money.
Yes.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
The other thing that you say we're getting the roads and that'll be now maintained by the city if this is passed. That's that they don't just hand you the roads in the condition that they are today. They'll bring them up to speed. They'll do a complete mill and overlay. They'll address other things like handicap access, all those things to get it up to their standards. So we have that. So they're going to leave us.
Right, but the
Essentially.
long-term maintenance would be our responsibility.
Correct.
Councilman Brannigan?
Okay. You said that we had the money to build the fire station. That's what you just said. Okay? So if we had the money to build the fire station, why are we bringing this in? The problem that I have with taking these roads over is we can't maintain the roads that we have now. And if we take over Williams Boulevard and Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, that's going to add to the burden for the city to maintain those streets forever. I mean, this is not something that's going to go away. So, did I hear you say that we had the money to build the fire station?
Money came to us from the DOTD's evaluation.
How much money was that?
I don't have the number in front of me, but it's this money is needed to complete the cost. The other thing that's happened is that when we purchased the land, it was in excess of what was allowed by DOTD. The other thing that their evaluation did not do is they did not take into account professional fees, which is a big mistake in my book. How do you build anything like this? How do you build a fire station without having it designed? So that's another cost that has to be accounted for.
Excuse me. So again, we had the money. Do we know how much money we had? Somebody's got to be able to
We
tell us.
received 3.46 million. Of that, 1.5 went to purchase the new land where the fire station will be built. So we have 1.9 left.
And we think the cost is going to be,
Tom might have the total answer.
Yeah, I think with this addition, we'll be in good shape.
I think
No,
from
my
the start, we knew that the 1.9 would not be enough. So they continued to negotiate with them to give us additional funding. So we know that we don't have enough with the 1.9.
and what's the projected cost for the new fire station?
I think it's a 3.5 million. I don't have that in front of me, but
Anyone know that?
Council Chairman, we didn't know about this until I got a call from the advocate, so we didn't hear from anybody, but we can have a presentation for you for the next council meeting. They'll break all this down. I didn't
know what, sorry.
that this was going to be indefinitely deferred until I got a phone call from the advocate. They didn't use that word, a term. But what I'm saying is we're not prepared to give you all those numbers right now because we didn't know where the council was going with this.
So regardless of the deferral, we don't know what the cost of the fire station is?
Well, we don't want to give you a number that may be incorrect. We want to give you the exact numbers.
So we don't know the number for the fire.
It's not that we don't know it, we don't have it for you right now. We do know it, but we don't have it to supply to you right now, to provide to you.
Nobody knows what the cost of the fire station is.
You can
know
give
it's
a,
not
if you
written
want to
down
give a
somewhere.
rough estimate, but we'll make it very clear, a rough estimate. I don't want to give it,
yeah, I believe it's 3.5 million. Yeah, like the mayor said, we weren't prepared to talk about that. So
Well, whether
I could
prepared
easily.
or not, I can't imagine that we don't know what the cost of a fire station is going to be. It's not like we're buying a pickup truck. This is just I'm just amazed.
If I may add, we haven't bid out the actual construction, and construction costs are going up. So it's hard for us to give you just a concrete number. I would agree the 3.5 is a good estimate on what we projected. So as soon as we get the quote, we would have a better.
And again, all along, we've been relying on the possibility of getting this money for the flyover and the fire station, and we went ahead with the fire station and what we've done.
Yeah, where we
answer is-
It's part of the negotiations with DOTD. Yes.
yeah, all
I
along,
don't,
we knew we
I
were going to
don't
have to
see
do
the
this to
issue.
get
It's
the
part of
balance
the negotiations with DOTD.
Councilman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Director, so I think we believe it was said that we got 3.6 million for the sale of the old fire station and from the state and all that. I think that's a finance 3.4 million. So, you know, I'm only saying this for the sake of our conversation, and the fact that it's in District 1 that the fire station, you know, will eventually be built, that I never supported that purchase in the lane in the beginning because I thought it was kind of excessive. But with that money alone, and the fact that we had property where we could have built it that we owned already, and I know I'm bringing this up, but I think it's important to put that out there, that we had the property to build this. So all of that 3.4, based on the numbers, without the cost going up for the hurricane, we didn't know that, would have been pretty much enough to cover that. So I'm just saying, if anything, you know, my deferral indefinitely, I haven't been convinced that I should change that right now.
Brown?
I haven't been convinced that we should not indefinitely defer this. And if this is the case, then we can revisit it another time. But for right now, I haven't been convinced that I should. Now, if the members do not want to support it, obviously that's their you know, opinion. But based on what I just shared about the cost and where we could have done it and this and that, and don't we have a millage in place for the fire that we passed last year?
Say again, please.
Is there a millage in place for the fire that we're going to be receiving funding for?
Yeah, I think the chief can address that.
Yeah, but I guess, do we have a millage in place to support the fire?
Yeah, we have, we just renewed 7.13 mills, I think, for fire-related services at the time. My issue with the fire station, the current condition is, in 2019, when we got the Class 1 rating, we get a rating every 5 years, which comes up again in 2024. The beginning of 2024 is when PL would come in and start rate, you know, again, the fire service as it relates to the protection for the community. With us not having a fire station at that location would tremendously harm the ability of us to maintain that Class 1 rate.
Without a doubt. You know, we need a
Right.
fire station, without a doubt. But I'm saying the millage,
Well, and besides the guys in the trailer for longer
So-
than I want them to be in there.
yeah, we need the fire station.
Right.
Nobody's doubting that at
Right.
all. There are some other things we may disagree on, but there's no doubt a fire station is needed for the Veteran Heights and the Susan Park area, without a doubt. The millage that we have that's in place will be able to support fire-related.
No.
It won't?
Well, the millage, and I don't want to have that conversation tonight. I
No.
don't think that's a conversation.
No, does it,
tonight.
could it support building a fire station, the funding from that millage?
No, the mills, 7 mills only is like $3.5 million.
No, could it support though? I'm just asking. So
No.
could any of the funds be used to support building that fire
Not the
station?
current millage, no.
If I may, just for clarity, the total operating expenses for the fire department is a little over 11 million, and we only have dedicated revenue of 5.7. So the difference comes from the general fund. So if we take any money away that's dedicated, we would have to find the funding somewhere else,
Yeah,
just to help.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I wasn't suggesting. I just was just asking, could it be? But again, we haven't, or I haven't seen any of the diagrams, even initial diagrams of the fire station, of what it might initially cost before the cost went up. So we weren't aware of that. We were just under the impression that there were enough funding to build it. So now, obviously, it's being said that we need this additional funding to support that, and plus also for the flyover. So again, I have not heard enough yet to pull back my indefinitely deferral of it. It's going to be, I'm going to put it up, it's going to be voted on or not voted on, and then we move forward on doing what we have to do for the fire station and the flyover. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council. Councilman Wilmot?
Thank you. Hearing this is, I served 9 years in our state's legislature. Doing that, a part of Williams Boulevard, Jefferson Highway, those were my representative areas. Back in 2011, we had, I believe it was 2011, maybe I'm off a year, we had the roadways resurfaced back then. Ruts, potholes, all those things. And the state came in, and I sent in tons of complaints on a regular basis for a couple of years. And eventually the state got tired of hearing it. And they came in and resurfaced everything. That was wonderful. 2011. So what are we at now? We're not far from that. And then looking to resurface it again. Every time it's resurfaced, it's not a few 100,000. We're talking well over $1 million every time, and the price keeps going up and up and up. The state doesn't just maintain the roadways either. You got traffic engineers. Every time a sign is changed or a street light is changed or any of those things, they pull in the top people who have the engineering background to make a determination whether or not something should be changed. That's important. You got to have that, whether a stop sign, a street light, or no left turn sign, in order to avoid all these accidents that could take place, right? In addition to that, who gets sued? The people who maintain the roads. That's another big issue. So you got liability you're dealing with as well. So you got the roads, you have all the street lights, street maintenance. Every time we got high winds, what happens? The street lights go out. Potential for accidents, right? If it doesn't get reported and handled right away, who gets sued? All these things come into play. We're talking millions of dollars on a regular basis. I'm talking just for the resurfacing part of it. In between, they have millions of dollars every time it gets resurfaced. This is a huge undertaking. I don't know who negotiated this 4.3, but that's grossly low. And I wouldn't even do it if it was 20. I think 20 million is low. This is insane. We're talking about the two biggest roadways in Kenner. We're talking about Williams Boulevard, roughly half of it, and we're talking about all of Jefferson Highway. That's huge. That road surface is just incredible. And we're going to take that over? There's something wrong with that. I have a huge, huge problem with this, and I'm going to support the indefinite deferral on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brannick.
Okay, Ms. Herring. We have how much money left to build the station? 1.9?
1.9 was left after the initial sale.
And that's collecting all of the money from the state that they were through the firehouse move
Yes,
and all
sir.
of that stuff.
Yes,
Not
sir.
this
Not this
stuff.
deal.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's all I need.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Brennan to indefinitely defer. Mr. Chairman.
We've already closed it, Ms. Alessandro. Sorry? No, I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear what No, come on up. You have 3 seconds. No. I'm kidding.
Are you sure you're okay? Thank you very much, Council President. Stacy Alessandro, 4th District. Okay, so when this came on the agenda to buy these roads, I was like, why are we even doing this? Now it is crystal clear why. We don't have the money to do the 2 biggest projects happening in Kenner right now. Now, number one, are you meaning to tell me that we started the flyover project without our match in place? Like they went ahead with the construction and we didn't even have money for our part of it? Okay, we need to look into that because I'm not buying that. And number 2, they gave us enough money for that fire station. Y'all bought a piece of land that the man is assessed $225,000 a year on, and y'all paid $1.5 million for that. And then there's $400,000 more for utility work. Y'all paid $2 million for the land. And y'all told us, I'm so upset right now, I don't even know where to start. Y'all told us multiple times that y'all were about to break ground on that station. Ms. Fosha, you told us that in a council meeting was going to be last October. And now y'all are telling us you don't even know how much it's going to cost? Y'all kept telling us, oh, we're breaking ground, we're breaking ground. Y'all got that money 3.5 years ago. And they gave you money for everything. And just because you spent half of it on buying a piece of property that wasn't even worth 1/3 of what you paid for it, and now we don't have the money for that either? Have we been lied to all this time? We're breaking ground, now we don't even know how much money we have, how much it's going to cost. And then negotiate, y'all knew in the beginning that that wasn't enough, so you're negotiating for more. When did that ever come up? I hope that's documented with the governor's office, that they didn't give us enough in the beginning and we knew it. And as far as us losing our class 1 fire rating, what's changing? Because we were on the verge of losing our 2 all this time, and then suddenly we lose the fire station, you don't replace it, and we go to a class 1. We've held on to that for 3 years now? And now all of a sudden the scare tactic, if y'all don't vote on this, we don't have the fire station, we're going to lose our fire rating? What's changed? Why all of a sudden now? I call for you guys to call in the legislative auditor to look into this fire station fiasco. This is not okay. This has been going on for over 3 years. Are y'all going to do anything? I'm sorry. I like and respect all of y'all up there, but y'all are the people who can do something. And as a citizen of this city, I am begging you to do something. This is not okay. Please. I know I didn't do a good job right now. I'm just so upset. But I think y'all understand where I'm coming from.
Thank you.
Council
Brown?
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Richard Brown, I live in District 4 in Kenner. I came here from home. I was listening to the meeting as I was getting ready to go and serve as parliamentarian at a convention tomorrow morning. What I'm hearing has me outraged. First off, Stacy Alessandro was right. We paid way too much money for that piece of land for the fire station. Citizens for Better Kenner we tried our best to get the city to not pay that much money for that land. We tried hard. Secondly, we were assured over and over, repeatedly by the mayor in statements here in public relations releases that the fire station is totally, completely paid for. It's not going to cost the citizens of Kenner a dime. That between the money coming from the state and money coming from the federal government that we were promised, it was not going to cost us a dime. It was fully paid for. Everything was fully paid for. It looks like now that's so much BS. As far as this particular deal to sell these streets, I agree with Mr. Wilmot, $4.5 million for maintenance forever from now on is nowhere near enough. Second, I actually looked at the paperwork for this. $1.5 million of that is supposed to go toward the interchange at Loyola and I-10, so that leaves $3 million for maintenance for these roads we're taking over. But the proposal doesn't say anything about that money being for the fire station. The paperwork that goes with this ordinance says it is for deferred maintenance. It's for maintenance for those roads, for the state to pay the city of Kenner to maintain them. Now you want to take that money to go to the fire station? This is outrageous. It's just outrageous. I can't say it any better. This, at a minimum, this needs to be deferred to be talked about more, and I think it needs to be deferred indefinitely and just put to rest and buried. That there's something terribly wrong based on what we were told 3 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morella?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 50 years. I agree with the speakers that was just up here, Mr. Brown. I'm outraged as well. I was outraged from the very first day when this whole thing unfolded. I put a question to the then city attorney, and he couldn't answer. And I asked him, it was a hypothetical question, if you was purchasing this property, these 5 properties, for yourself, would you have ignored the 3 appraisals that was on the table and the assessments that came in from the assessor's office and paid $1.5 million for that property? He couldn't answer. Of course he couldn't answer because it wasn't his money. Now here we are 3 years later, this thing is still going on. It's an outrage, it's an embarrassment to the city of Kenner. And I can tell you something right now, there needs to be some type of investigation into this and find out what happened to that money. And I'm going to tell you something else. That 2030 plan, that's $37 million in bond debt that I oppose. The $80 million for the sewer system in this city, $80 million more in bond debt. Only to be told now that the sewer system is in deplorable condition. Where's the $80 million? Where's the $37 million for the 2030 plan? And the mayor-elect said he's going to restart it. Well, what happened to the $30 million in debt we incurred? That's all we got to show is debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morella.
Saley Molina, District 5. I just want to agree with the indefinite deferral. I don't agree with taking on the responsibility of these 2 major roads when we're not doing a good job of meeting the responsibilities that are already on our table. One of the things that I want to bring to light is that it doesn't seem, and I don't know who's responsible or, I don't know how it works, to who is responsible for getting the council the information that you guys need to make informed decisions that affect us. Because with the Duncan Canal, we learned so many things that you guys did not know, and as well as with the flyover. Now with the fire station, y'all are just learning things, and y'all should be the people that I assume have access to the most information with no red tape to get through. I remember back 3 years ago during the purchase of the fire station land, it was time is of the essence. And now I hear that we don't even have a plan for a fire station. We don't have enough money. We spent most of the money on the land. Now we don't have enough for the building. And it's like we're making such... I look up and admire each and every one of you guys as professionals, and to see, from my point of view, such irresponsible financial decisions being made and things that just don't make sense to a layperson, that I would like for you guys to take the time to look and to ask. Yesterday or Tuesday, we learned about a project that's supposedly going to start on yesterday, that is going to affect the bridge between West Loyola and Yoyeni. But there was no information. There's no announcement from the DOTD. There's no warning that the street is going to be closed other than our little municipal warning. Our councilman doesn't have plans that should have been provided to him or engineer's report. And it's the same thing going to happen with that project as the Duncan Canal, as the flyover, as the fire station. It's not just one thing. Now it's a bunch of things. So, what are we going to do differently to make sure that our council people have all of the documents, information, contracts, access to vendors that they need in order to make a decision while representing the public? That's a question. But that's it. That's all I have for you.
Thank you for your comments, but I will comment on this. So the DOTD project, speaking of, letters were mailed out to the West Loyola, all the residents on West Loyola, Wood Lake Park, Las Pontchartrain the letters were mailed out, first notified of the project. I have been reaching out to everyone that I have text messages for. It's been posted. I was not going to go through the expense of, I forget how many letters it was. It was quite a few to tell people it was supposed to be starting the other day. They obviously have not closed Joe Yenny yet. The signs are all in place and they're covered. Which I know you don't know what's behind the sign if it's covered. I understand that. But I would anticipate, my understanding is that the closure is imminent at any time. There's construction stuff out there. There are people out there in the morning. They're workers. You can tell they're lining things up. It's still open at this time, but that's subject to change. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, if it'll be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but it's
Right, but
certainly.
my concern isn't, are people being notified? Okay, they're notified, but they're notified that work is starting, but are you notified? Are we notified of what work? Is it the same contractor that is doing the Duncan Canal? Are we gonna run into the same problems?
It's not
Are
just
the engineers?
We were provided that information.
Okay.
We know who the contractor is. They're also awarded another project, in Jefferson Parish by the DOTD, which is not in Kenner at all. Some things have been. Some of that, I mean, not to be funny, some of it, that's not relevant to notifying, in my eyes, the constituents, the time, the date, and the issues. KFD was notified right away, the chief of police, KPD, all the entities were notified as soon as we were made aware of it, and we've had ongoing conversations about that as well. The administration has been aware of it. Those conversations have continued, and even when we got the update the other day, the email from the DOTD, that was all sent again to make certain that the departments that need to know, the RTA has been notified, Ivy Waste has been notified, ambulance services have been notified. So
Okay.
there's, and again, not it just because of the expense, the letter was not going to go to everyone in District 5.
Understood. Well, just for clarity, I'm not in favor of taking on the burden of these 2 extra roads.
Well, then you have 10 minutes, Mr. Morello.
Councilman Brennan, you made the announcement in this chamber concerning the West Loyola Bridge 2 meetings ago. And you and I had a little discussion in here on the record, right in here, and I asked you to notify DOTD and find out what the plans was for the East Loyola Bridge with the live gas line that runs parallel to it. You made the announcement. We talked about it right here on the record. People, if they don't look at the replay, come on down.
Well, if they listen closely enough, they'd hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Council Chairman,
I'm sorry.
May
Mr. Mayor?
I?
can she clarify a few emails that go back a little bit?
Yes.
And this is the best research I can do on my iPhone. I'm sure when I get the computer tomorrow, I can give you guys more details. But the earliest reference I see to this transaction is November 16, 2018. State Representative Stagney was our advocate in terms of negotiating with the Department of Transportation and Development. We had multiple trips to Baton Rouge. We met with the Secretary, Sean Wilson, multiple trips here. He was involved.
In regard to,
I'm sorry, the fire station.
I just wanted,
And
I thought so.
I
just wanted to-
apologize.
No, no,
Yes,
no.
sir. In regard to the fire station, and it was clear the whole time we were having this discussion that there was insufficient funds being offered by the state, and based upon the information that their criteria by which they're using Federal Highway Administration funds. And when you use Federal Highway Administration funds, you have specific criteria that they're limited to. So Representative Stagney took lead in trying to help us find other funds, and he spoke with Sean Wilson, the Secretary of DOTD, and when the email that I have, because he was communicating through Ed Rapier, is from Ed Rapier, the then Deputy City Attorney, to Representative Stagney, and it reads, "Joe, don't forget to send me the emails from Sean," meaning Sean Wilson, "on the idea of them paying us to take streets so that I can follow up." And that's in reference to the Kenner Fire Station is the caption. And then the most recent, the document that you have in front of you was initially drafted by, again, Mr. Rapier, who negotiated, I want to say, very hard and very well for the many years that we were trying to get this project off the ground. And on July 6, 2021, his email is, here's the initial CEA. You have the final in front of you. In it, Kenner received the initial CEA being the initial payment from the DOTD. Here is the initial CEA. In it, Kenner received $3.464 million. In the road transfer, Kenner will receive an additional $3.811. $1.5 will be used for Kenner's matching fund, which leaves an additional $2.3 to go toward the fire station. This translates into Kenner receiving a total of $5.7 cash to replace the fire station and $1.5 credit for its matching funds. Now, out of that amount, obviously, they paid for the land. So all along, this transaction was part of the funding for the fire station as well as the match. And yes, Ms. Alessandra, they did begin without the 1.5 from us. They just basically said you have to pay 1.5. I'm not sure why we're paying 1.5, so everybody flies over Kenner and never stops here. But nonetheless, that's what we were told was our match, and that's how we were going to pay for it. I will be happy to go back and do further research and bring up all the information I can for you and the various iterations. The majority of this communication was, again, between Mr. Rapier and Department of Transportation and Development personnel, Sean Wilson himself, as well as various others who work for him. So I can pull that together and bring that to you, but this is not new information. This is what, at least since 2018, has been the method by which we knew that we would need to pay for the fire station.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember.
Madam, Mr. President, I would like to ask Madam Clerk to read the caption again, because we have gone and talked about many things. So I want to make sure for the public and everybody know exactly what we are about to vote on, because we've talked about the flyover, we've talked about, the fire station. In this particular order, it's just not relating to any of that, even though it is related to that. So if you can read it again, so we all know exactly what we're about to vote on, I would appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Summary ordinance number 12,961. An ordinance accepting the transfer of ownership of portions of State Routes LA 48, Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, and LA 49, Williams Boulevard, located with the City of Kenner from the State of Louisiana to the City of Kenner. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Brennan to indefinitely defer. Council members, please vote. Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to indefinitely defer. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution urging support of the Kenner delegation for the Louisiana State Legislature in the Hoopla Out of Bounds Bash to select the Charles T. Jr. basketball court of the Bertha Lee Jackson Play Lot and the A.P. Clay Center basketball court for restoration. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Mr. Chairman, Councilman Carroll would like for me to read some of the whereases of this resolution for the public to be aware of what we're doing, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Whereas, beginning in 2009, several state legislatures formed the legislature's charity fund, and whereas the legislature's charity fund is not for nonprofit or corporation whose objective is to enhance the lives of the people of Louisiana through charitable works, and whereas each year proceeds from the fund are used for the Hoopla Out of Bounds Bash to restore community basketball courts in need of refurbishing around the state of Louisiana. Whereas the Hoopla Out of Bounds Bash features a basketball competition between the representatives from the Senate and the House. Whereas the House and Senate members are entered into a raffle and the chosen members receives funds to restore the basketball court of his or her choosing. Whereas the Charles T. Jr. basketball court of the Bertha Lee Jackson Play Lot located at Kenner Avenue and Salvador Road, Kenner, Louisiana 70062, and the A.P. Clay Center basketball court located at 200 Decatur Street, Kenner, Louisiana 70062, are in dire need of repair. Whereas renovation of the basketball courts will enhance the quality of life.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And, I'd like to first thank all the ladies in the council for supporting this today, because it was kind of late that I got this from Representative Stagney, because in the past, either the mayor or myself has submitted a letter to be able to participate in this. Well, now they are requesting a ordinance to get it done. So without their support, without the support of Attorney Shaw, we wouldn't have been able to do it because time was of an essence. So thank you, ladies, for supporting this. She read it. The reality is we've done this in the past when Councilman Wilmot was in with our representative. He never won. I've always teased him about that. Never won. Never. Not one time did he win. So hopefully Representative Stagney would do a better job. Now, he participated in the basketball game. I don't know if they won that game or not, but, all jokes aside, thank you for your support. And all we can do is submit our name in it. We are now asking the support of the other delegation, our other delegation, to support as well, because the more people you have participate, the more your chances go up to win. So if they submit as well, hopefully we may win, and we may be able to revise one of these courts, which is, in essence, for everyone. It may be located in District 1, but it is open for everyone, no difference than the tennis courts or any other playground or gym in the city. So I would like to ask Councilman Wilmot just to give a little bit more details about the game or some of the information that he's more privy to by being in the House of Representatives, if he doesn't mind.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Thank you. It was an honor to participate into that event. The House plays the Senate every year in basketball at the Pete Maravich Center. Back then, most of the time, I want to say that the Senate actually won. They got the bragging rights. They got the right to take home the trophy, and it went back and forth several times, and it still does. The Senate, though, I got to say they had a couple of players that were out of our caliber, I want to say, and they were very, very good. But we do have, today I understand that things have changed, and now the House is starting to take the trophy home more, which is great. But they do, as a result of this, they do have the Legislative Charity Fund. It's a not-for-profit organization, and they do make a selection of one court in the state that actually gets renovations. It's a very, very nice project. They do it in congruent with the professional basketball team in New Orleans, and it's well done, and we hope to win it. The actual participants, I want to say, is somewhere between 10 and 20. So that's all. And one of them gets selected every year. We were unfortunate with that. We didn't ever get selected. One of the state reps, he had 2 courts in his district got redone. So it is a big event, and they do put up a lot of money for that event. So hopefully we'll get it this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And, I believe it was $50,000 during your tenure with the price of costs going up. Hopefully it has inflated also, but, to be able to spend $50,000+ on a court, particularly with the summer coming up, man, this is something fantastic. And, we'll say a prayer and keep our fingers crossed that we are fortunate this time.
Thank you,
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Carroll and Councilwoman, as I'm hearing, and I know these competitions take place in these different bodies, because I know Senator Scalise, State House Rep Scalise, was playing baseball in one of these types of events when he got shot. But just out of curiosity, the members of the House that play, are they chosen or are they volunteers?
Everybody can play.
Oh, okay.
And so it's interesting to see, though, because some people aren't in the shape to play, and they try anyway, including myself.
I wasn't talking about you. Well, but my point was, I was just wondering if we could somehow get, instead of State Rep Stagney to play, get his son to play. I hear he's much better. So then we could have a better chance of getting some of that. So if there's a way to make that happen, at least recommend that he coach his dad how to play, I guess.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank everyone for their support.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,958, an ordinance authorizing repairs to Unit 6050 by Lee Tractor Company Incorporated, an authorized dealer, in the amount of $13,945.17 for the Department of Fleet Management. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Hayes. Council members, please vote. Councilman McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,959. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Black Star Diversified Enterprises, LLC, for the purchase of 500 5.5-inch flat blade cross with 5.5 flat blade holders and 500 12-inch flat blade cross with 12-inch flat blade holders in accordance with letter bid 22-1996 for the sum of $8,000 for the Department of General Services. Have a motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Segur. Council members, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,960. An ordinance authorizing an agreement with Messina's Incorporated to provide disaster meal service in accordance with request for proposal number 21-6631. I have a motion by Councilmember Segur, seconded by Councilmember Brennan.
Mr. Morello?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 50 years. I want to direct this to you, Liz. What is the amount of this contract? And was this the only responsive bid that we had, or was it the lowest bid that we had? Oh, Doug,
I'll defer to Doug since it's his department. putting
that's
it up.
okay.
I can answer that. That we had 3 bidders on this, and based on the assessment and review of their logistic plan and their various other factors, they were the best bid. So they were selected out of 3. Well, the contract is going to be a contingency-based contract, so it's going to be a contract that's based on the emergency at the time when it's declared, and then we set the limits at that time based on the assessment of what our needs are at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Doak. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Council members, please vote. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is a resolution approving change order number 7 to the agreement with Barrier Construction Company, LLC, dated November 20th, 2017, regarding the New Orleans Airport Connector Road, State Project Number H.011276, Federal Aid Project Number H.011276, Kenner Public Works Project Number 2014-003-A-RB, for a net decrease of $4,911.31 for the Department of Public Works. Have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Carroll.
Councilman Segur?
Thank you. If Mr. Schreiner can come up and discuss this decrease, so Mr. Morrell won't have to ask his question.
I don't have a question, I just got a
Okay.
Councilman, this is an adjustment to the contract price to a change in the asphalt price. There's a way that you get adjustments to your asphalt based on the price of oil, which is a major component of asphalt. So in this case, it's a reduction of almost $5,000. Of that, we get 20%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the kind of change orders I like. And good job, Mr. Schreiner. Job well done. Thank you. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morella. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Council members, please vote. Councilman Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance levying the annual tax millage rates for the year of 2022 totaling 17.71 mills on the dollar of the assessed valuation of all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city of Kenner, Louisiana on the 2022 tax roll. In accordance with state law, please be advised to the public that this will be heard for final adoption and public hearing on Thursday, May 5th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Item 16B is an ordinance authorizing the use of Jefferson Parish Contract Number 55-20083, bid proposal number 50-136407 with Throw to Go LLC doing business as Event Room for the rental of portable toilets on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $60,000 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the only responsive bid received from Grimco Incorporated to supply HP 831 ink for traffic printer as needed in accordance with letter bid number 22-1997 and an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the Department of General Services. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the only responsive bid received from Pennant Shop Incorporated to supply flags as needed in accordance with letter bid number 22-1998 and an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the Department of General Services. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the only responsive bid received from Traffic Commander LLC for the purchase of 100 Type 2 barricades in accordance with letter bid number 22-1999 in the amount of $5,800 for the Department of General Services. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 833 DARE T-shirts, including shipping, at a cost of $5,846.10 from Creative Product Sourcing Incorporated, a sole source provider for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16G is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office Contract 21-DEC-1501 with Lamarck Ford Incorporated and Courtesy Ford to purchase vehicles on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $500,000 for the life of the agreement for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16H is an ordinance amending ordinance number 11,971 adopted March 10, 2022 to replace the wording "or whichever is the longest period of time" with "whichever is the shortest period of time" in the sixth whereas and section 2. Item 17 is reports from the council and or special committees.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a brief statement regarding 12B. That's the purchase of the roads, Williams and Jefferson Highway. And I wanted to make it known that it was my understanding that Rep. Stagney was not in favor of that legislation either. So I just want to make the record be known. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Thank you. Mr. Clement?
Jeff Clement, District 4. I'm in receipt of a public notice, which I think the council recently put out for legal services. I have read the contract. I've read a few other things, and I think what the council needs is an accounting firm, not a legal firm. You're looking into illegality, fraud, conflicts of interest, violations, maybe now firehouse money. I don't think a legal firm is what you need. I think you need a forensic accountant and an accounting firm, and if they need a law firm to perhaps question witnesses, let that come before the council. I do believe the law firm is not appropriate. If you disagree, you've got selection and award. Number 3 is performance on past Kenner contracts. I think legal firms that have represented the city in the past should be disqualified from this audit or whatever you want to call it. My opinion, just something I noticed. Let me also publicly thank Councilman Brannigan and Mr. Schreiner for reviewing my email and scheduling a meeting to discuss the Duncan Canal West Esplanade project. I appreciate that it's going to be April 19th and open to the public. I guess one last thing, on your agreement or your contract that you're going to use to hire someone to conduct this audit, whatever it is, you've got a clause in there which I think you ought to cancel or do something with. Under applicable law and venue, you're agreeing to award attorney's fees and court costs to the prevailing party. You would not want to award attorney's fees if you're not the prevailing party. Why can't that just be the city of Kenner? Don't make it reciprocal, because if you lose, you're going to wind up paying attorney's fees and costs as well. So I think that really ought to be changed. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Clement.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Taft?
Greg Tapp, 3720 West Loyola Drive. I have one comment. All of this has come about. Read your emails, please.
Thank you. Mr. Salvador Venturella? Mr. Salvador Venturella? Thank you, sir. Al Morella?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 50 years. It's been my belief and my opinion over the years that our government in Kenner has been a puppet government of Jefferson Parish. And I want to tell you why I believe that. Go back to the beginning. In 1855, when Kennerville was established, we tried several times to get a charter and failed. In 1873, we finally established a charter, and it had a provision that the citizens of Kennerville were not obligated to any taxes in any kind of way to Jefferson Parish. Well, one lady, her name was Rebecca Felix, she refused to pay anything to the parish and followed our charter. She was sued by the parish. They went into state court. She prevailed. The parish appealed and went all the way to the state Supreme Court, where she still prevailed. Then they tried to revoke the Kennerville's charter, and they failed at that. Then they cut off all services and refused any kind of funding at all for this area. So they struggled, Kennerville did, from 1873. Well, it was 1885 when all of this took place with Miss Felix. So 5 years later, 1990, the dispute was still going on, but things started to get a little better. Then, in 1908, the citizens of Kenner, they returned the charter to the state, and all government back here was dissolved. It wasn't until 1913, on December 13th, that Governor Luther Hall reinstated our charter. And we became a charter city once again, up till this current time. So I believe, and given that history, and certain things that unfolded at the conclusion of this recent election cycle, that's what I base my beliefs on. And I still believe that, and I'll continue to believe. So, I got any time left for Councilman Brennan? Well, I don't need them. I done said everything I wanted to say. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morella. Ms. Patsy Coward? Patsy Coward, C-O-W-A-R-T. Isaac Coward? Stacy Alessandro?
Hello again, Stacy Alessandro, District 4. So, much calmer now, but I do have some questions. For either the mayor or Ms. Fauché, do we have a building permit for the fire station that's been approved? Has it been formally approved? Can we pause my time, or am I losing my time?
Why don't you ask your questions, tell us? Let people respond.
Okay.
Ma'am, could you speak up?
Certainly. So my questions are going to be, do we have a building permit that has been approved that allows us, it has every approval needed, that we could break ground tomorrow if everything else was in place? Is there a building permit in place? My other question is, how much of that $1.9 million that was left over after we purchased the land, how much of that 1.9 do we still have in that account? Do we still have 1.9 million? My other questions are, what are going to happen to these two projects, the flyover ramp, now that this didn't pass and we don't have the match, I'm assuming? What happens to that project? And this is a guess of mine, and I could be completely wrong, but it seems to me when that project got started, we would have had to tell them what account we had our match in to show that we had our money before that project got started. I can't imagine the state doing these kind of projects like this without the funding in place. So I want to know where was the funding coming from originally? Is that funding still there? And what happens now that this wasn't approved? And also, what happens now to the fire station that we don't have, so that this wasn't approved? Where's the money going to come from to build that station? And last question, I hope y'all are writing these down. Last question, when are we going to break ground on that fire station? And lastly, I don't know if I have a few seconds left. Okay, I would just like to point out that Citizens for a Better Kenner begged and pleaded. We went to multiple meetings. We went to a private meeting with the mayor. We begged for the city not to buy this piece of land. We knew this was going to happen. We predicted it. We told y'all it was going to happen, that we weren't going to have enough money if we spent all the money on the land. And here we are. It fell on deaf ears. And now you're being held accountable. And we would like answers. We would like answers tonight. Everybody's here that has the answers, so I'd like my questions answered tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any responses, Mr. Schreiner?
I can answer a couple of questions. One, about the permit. Yeah, I think we stated earlier that the permit plans had already been submitted to code, and they have promised us an expeditious review of those plans. Well, if there's any other issues, so hopefully somebody did write all our questions down. I think they'd asked about a balance.
Do we still have 1.9 million for the firehouse?
I think that'd be a Liz question.
Currently, we have 775,000 left. 775,000. So we've spent 430,000 so far, and that's part of the surcharge fees, the design fees, the temporary location as well.
What happens to the flyover?
The funding for the flyover was always road transfer. When it was brought to us by DOTD, they said, we are going to give you this, and this will count as your 1.5 towards the road, towards the flyover. So there was never any discussion with the state regarding us providing any funding other than through road transfer.
What happens to the firehouse now? I'm sorry, I'm just repeating.
I'm sorry, what happens to the firehouse if there's no further funding?
I believe that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So the when will we break ground is, I would answer that.
Whenever we find the fund, right, exactly. When we replace the funding, this has been the funding formula for this project since the beginning of the end of 2018. This has been the discussion and negotiation since 2018.
And Councilman, I know you're not asking the questions, you just wrote them down. I appreciate that, but I think that's what our presentation said. That's why we gave that presentation.
Okay. Please, no comments from the audience. Mr. Shriner, do you have any other comments to make, sir? Ms. Foshee, Mayor? Okay. Madam Clerk, that's the end of the list. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.